Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Showing more class than Jordan Clarkson and Swaggy P at a traffic light. It is the Keith Grieve Show, the premiere episode. This is one of those moments where I wish I had some kind of, manly, commanding voice, but just stuck with the one I was anyway. Welcome aboard, folks. This is going to be a fast-paced hour of sports talk, and if you want to join the conversation at any time, the phone number is 585-633-7487. That is 585-633-7487, or hit me up on Twitter at Keith Grieve, KEITHGRIEVE. Like to be sad. Think of it that way. However, got a lot to talk about in this Sports Monday. This program is brought to you by CG Imaging. That's cg-imaging.com. CG Imaging. Bringing your ideas to life. CG Imaging. Yeah. So that NCAA tournament, huh, kids? Yeah. How about that? There is a fantastic picture if you go on ESPN.com's men's college basketball page. It's a thumbnail for a video. I don't want to click on it because I don't want to listen to the gas baggery that goes on at ESPN sometimes. But it's Tom Crean, the head coach of Indiana, in a certain pose, and he just looks maniacal like he tends to do from time to time on the sideline. But kudos to Indiana heading to the Sweet 16 there. It's just, if you head to 87sportsfans.com, where all of my literary attempts are filed. I wrote a post last night about people that piss and moan about the lower seeds, advancing, the upsets in March Madness, the madness, if you will, in March Madness, and I just don't get it. I mean, first of all, let's be honest, kids. In college sports, there's no good way to pick a champion. There's not. Football has been trying to experiment, if you will, over the last 15, 20 years. And it's still not the best. It's the best that we've seen. But it's not as good as it possibly can be because there's no way to really achieve that, because where we sit now with football, your top four teams get in. But then you always have the discussions about the fifth and sixth teams and who could have, if they expanded it to 8, how good could it be then? Da, da, da. In basketball, we've had 64 teams since the mid-'80s in this tournament, but that wasn't good enough, so we had to expand it to 68. And there's still people, crying about the bubble. Wow, St. Bonaventure should have been in. Syracuse doesn't belong. Well, why? Why? And I'm going to use Syracuse because I'm a Syracuse fan. But why? Playing in a superior conference like the ACC, to be able to hold your own without having your head coach for a major chunk of your schedule, of course they deserve to be in the tournament. Now maybe the 10 seed was a little bit generous, like I said in my blog post. But you can't honestly look me in the face and tell me that you'd rather see some small market school that you only care about because you're an alumnus over a team like Syracuse and Jim Boeheim, the head coach everybody loves to hate. I mean, come on. And Dayton in the first round for Syracuse was supposed to be a decent test for them, and they overcame it. And yeah, they ran up against Middle Tennessee State, who pulled off the mother of all upsets, the 15-2 upset, 15 seed over a 2 seed over Michigan State, which just wrecked my bracket. I do a bracket every year. I did it for money in the past, allegedly. And we've hosted a group for 87sportsfans.com where we give away the beer stein of knowledge. It's really fantastic. There's 6 people in it this year. It's a small, cozy group. But this is the worst result I have ever had picking a bracket. I am sitting, this is really embarrassing to admit, my success rate, my percentage, is 22.6%. That, you don't have to tell me, is awful. I realize it's awful. But at the same time, while I'm sitting there with this, in last place in this group, looking like I don't know what the hell's going on, I'm still tied for the most possible points around or available remaining. Go figure. I don't get it. And that's because my Final Four is still alive somehow. Michigan State, West Virginia totally destroyed my bracket. And so therefore I sit with the 22%, but I still have an outside chance to win this thing. This is how crazy this tournament is, particularly the Midwest bracket. And, the people that want to say that this isn't great, I just don't get. They want to sit and say that, well, they're not the best teams that are getting there. And I would completely disagree. I mean, you want to go ahead and take a talent audit of Michigan State versus Middle Tennessee. Of course, you're going to come away that Michigan State is the better team. But prove it on the court. I mean, you play together since October, if you count practices and everything. I know it's probably earlier than that, but that's my conservative estimate. And you get to March on the grandest stage, and you need your crap together for roughly 6 games. If you don't play the play-in game, if you're good enough to not make the play-in game and actually get seeded in the first round, 6 games. You have to have your crap together, operating on all cylinders. And you couldn't do it against Middle Tennessee State. Now, that sounds like I'm throwing shade at Middle Tennessee State, and I'm not. But there's no way Michigan State should have lost that game. There just isn't. And the fact that they did tells me that they don't belong to move on into the next round because they couldn't take care of their business. It wasn't some fluke, half-court buzzer beater, or a terrible official's call that cost them that game. No, they lost by 9 points. That's not a fluke. You gave up 90 points to Middle Tennessee State. And you can go down the line. If your team gets upset, or or a team, maybe not your team, but a team, Stephen F. Austin beating West Virginia, a 14-3 upset, 14 seed over a 3 seed upset, 70-56. You're going to tell me West Virginia belongs in the Sweet 16? Giving up 70, only putting up 56 against Stephen F. Austin? Whose coach bolted today, by the way. No, they don't deserve it. They're not the better team. If they were the better team, they would have won that game, hands down. They may have the best players, but they're not the best team. Arizona, 6 seed. Wichita State, the 11th seed. You tell me Arizona's the better team? They're not. If they were, they would have won the game. It's that simple. That's why the tournament is so great, because it's that simple. These big schools, these little schools all face off on the court, and if you're better than me, then prove it. And your regular season record and your conference tourney record plays into, what seed, how good you think you are. If you think you're that good, then you get to play teams that you think are that bad. And if you can't beat them for one night, we're not talking a best of 5, a best of 7. One night. You can't beat them, you don't deserve to go on. It's that simple. Now, Syracuse, should they somehow get by Gonzaga Friday night and play the winner of the Virginia Iowa State game, which personally, I'm just going to throw that out there. I really hope it's Virginia, because I have them going to the championship game in my bracket, in all honesty. If they somehow advance to this, it will probably be over if they face Virginia. But now, if they face Iowa State and somehow pull that off, if Syracuse makes the Final Four, all hell will break loose. Guaranteed. You will not be able to turn on a TV station, a sports TV station, or your sports talk radio without hearing somebody crying and moaning about how the tournament doesn't reward the better teams. And to end this argument, I say BS. You are absolutely 100% wrong, because if they were the best team, they would have won. All right, let's look at some of the other headlines. Jamie Dixon leaving Pitt to take over his alma mater, TCU. This, according to ESPN.com news services, Pittsburgh coach Jamie Dixon headed to his alma mater, where he played on the last Horned Frogs team that won an NCAA tournament game nearly 3 decades ago. This is huge. Jamie Dixon has built Pitt into a pretty decent program over the years. Granted, the heyday of the Big East, they were always a tough team. Before everyone bolted for the ACC and other conferences. But the one thing that I want to point out about this story is that we make a big deal over athletes, professional athletes, getting crazy amounts of money on long-term deals. And then eventually they get restructured, or they're traded, or they're cut, and everyone cries and bemoans that. But we think absolutely nothing, and it seems to happen more in college sports than anything else, about coaches not living up to their contract, not fulfilling their contract. And it's partly because they get these, in certain cases, absurd extensions. Jamie Dixon had a contract with Pitt until 2023. That's 7 years from now. And the buyout was about $10 million. Just remember, players can't make any money, but they got $10 million to buy it for Jamie Dixon. Buyout. They're going to get $10 million for Jamie Dixon. If a player transfers to another school, he's got to sit out a year, right? Coach can jump ship after players make decisions on where to go to school based on pitches that the coach makes about how I'm going to look after you and I'm going to make sure you're successful and da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, sorry, I gotta go. I got a better deal over there. You can't go anywhere without getting punished. I gotta go over here and do this thing. It's an absolute hypocrisy, which is nothing new, right? I mean, everybody knows that. It's one of the most boring talking points at all. But the NCAA could have avoided this whole mess if they just would have allowed players to be paid not for playing at a school, but for being able to make some money off their name, off their image. If they want to appear in a local car dealership commercial, and the guy in the car dealership wants to throw them a couple $100 or whatever, let them have it. You know, they're there. The school is making their boatloads of cash, ticket sales, concessions, jerseys, jerseys. Let them have a couple $100 for appearing in a commercial. But no, we have to protect the sanctity of the amateur athlete. And that's such a load of crap. An absolute load of crap. 585-633-7487 is the number to call in. 585-633-7487. Hit me up on Twitter at Keith Grieve. Ben Simmons, college basketball news and notes, told ESPN that he will hire an agent and declare for the NBA draft. Big freaking surprise. The guy hasn't been to class since like 1993. He's going to be the first pick. He led the Tigers and LSU in scoring 19.2 points, 11.8 boards, and 4.8 assists. But LSU finished 19-14. Well, Keith, that's not fair. There's other players on that team. Yes and no. I mean, in basketball, you have the fewest amount of players on the court. The ability for one really good player to carry a team is that much bigger in basketball than the other sports, right? That's what we say. That's what we think. You get to baseball with 9, football with 11 on a side. Those sports require more contributions from a lot of other people to make it happen, but basketball, you really have an opportunity if you're that good to carry a team. 19-14? 11-7 in the SEC, and they didn't even make the tournament. And then the school goes and declines an invitation to play in the NIT. Why? Because you didn't want your future number 1 pick to be embarrassed in the NIT? I don't know. Somebody's going to pay that kid a boatload of cash, and I just don't think, I got a feeling in my gut that it's not going to work out well. I can't explain it. Don't ask me to put it into words. I can't watch him play and say, oh, that's why. He doesn't have the it factor for me. Ben Simmons is going to be one of the worst one-and-done players that we can remember. And there hasn't been a whole lot to really hang our hats on. Who's the best NBA player to be one-and-done right now, statistically? Carmelo Anthony? Is he the best? All everybody does is bemoan. Remember Michael Beasley? So, one and done players since 2006. 57 players, this is according to USA Today, who were 1 year out of high school, have been drafted. And there's been stars like Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. Can't deny what Kevin Durant's done. Derrick Rose could have been if injuries didn't didn't derail. But other than that, I mean, LeBron James went straight to the NBA. Kobe Bryant, same thing. But, players that jump one and done. Stephon Marbury was a one and done, if I remember correctly, leaving Bobby Cremins and Georgia Tech. But for the most part, I'm not thinking, and maybe I can do some research here for next week's show. There's not a whole lot of one-and-done players that jump off the page and say, oh, yeah, that's a smart move. Okay, so here we go. I found this at collegesportsscholarships.com. 2006, 51 players drafted in the first 2 rounds. Anthony Davis, pretty good so far. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, bust. Bradley Beal, role player. Andre Drummond. Everyone keeps talking about how good he is. You won't see him in the playoffs. Austin Rivers, bust. Maurice Harkless, bust. Tony Roten. He had to clean up after Michael Carter-Williams in Philadelphia. Marquise Teague. Quincy Miller. Already talked about Kyrie Irving. Enes Kanter. Tristan Thompson. Brandon Knight. Tobias Harris. Corey Joseph. Josh Selby. John Wall is the franchise in Washington. Derek Favors. DeMarcus Cousins. Mercurial DeMarcus Cousins. Xavier Henry. Eric Bledsoe. Avery Bradley. Daniel Orton. Hassan Whiteside. Lance Stevenson. Tyreek Evans. DeMar DeRozan. Drew Holiday. Byron Mullins. Derrick Rose. Michael Beasley. O.J. Mayo. Kevin Love. Star. Kevin Love. Eric Gordon, Jared Bayless, Anthony Randolph, J.J. Hickson, Costa Koufos, Dante Green from Syracuse. Dante Green was a one and done. DeAndre Jordan, Bill Walker, Greg Oden. The Sam Bowie of our generation. Injuries. We talked about Durant, Mike Conley, Brandon Wright, Spencer Hawes. Dear Lord. Thaddeus Young, Javaris Crittenton, Daquan Cook, Tyrese Thomas, Sean Williams from Memphis in 2006. Not a whole lot of those names. So let me ask you, are we looking at, with Ben Simmons, are we looking at the next, regardless of position here, Javaris Crittenton or the next Kevin Durant? I think you're going to be disappointed, guys. I really do. Could be wrong. But like I said, you get one shot in college basketball to make your case, and you lead LSU to a 19-14 record, 5 games above 500. I don't understand what about that resume makes you think that it's time to jump, other than it's just a cash grab, which I get. I'm not going to knock him for doing that. Who did they beat this year that wowed anybody? McNeese State, Kennesaw State, South Alabama, North Florida, Gardner Webb, the illustrious Gardner Webb, Oral Roberts, American. Vanderbilt, they beat Kentucky, number 9. Woohoo, good for them. Lost to Texas A&M by 14. Lost to Oklahoma by 2, number 1. Lost to Texas A&M. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. They won that game, 76-71, so they broke even. Won that game on their home court. Lost to Kentucky again. And then lost to Texas A&M in their conference tournament. Who did they beat that wows you? Not a whole lot. And he's going to make the case that he's ready for the prime time, that he's going to be the number 1 pick theoretically. in the NBA draft? Not buying it. I am selling that. If I am whoever wins the lottery and ends up with the number 1 overall pick, I am selling that pick so fast. You oh my God. What do you want for it? In fact, if I'm the Lakers or the Sixers right now, or somebody that's going to probably be in the lottery, whatever, I'm taking offers right now. If we get the number 1 pick, what do you want? That's how much I'm selling Ben Simmons. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to catch my breath. We got about 35 minutes left in the program. When we come back, we'll bounce around the NBA, some Major League Baseball spring training, and some NFL news and notes. You're listening to It's Keith Grieve Show on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at LateNightSportsRadio.com.
Remember me for centuries.
You won't remember Ben Simmons for centuries, I guarantee that. Well, you'll remember him for the wrong reasons, but enough hating for one night. This is It's Keith Grieve Show on Late Night Sports Radio. This segment's brought to you by Blue Moon's First Peach Ale. That's right. It's got the summer sampler, spring sampler. And during the break, that's what I reached for. That's what I got. So that's what we're calling this segment. It's the Blue Moon First Peach Ale segment. Not bad, actually. Not bad. Pretty good. Congratulations, Blue Moon. I know you were waiting to hear it from me. All right, let's take a scoreboard check here in the NBA on the hardwood. 7 seconds left, waning moments. And the Warriors have been able to, it looks like anyway, stave off the pesky Timberwolves. 107 to 104. Timberwolves leading for much of the first half. Early first half anyway. And in Phoenix, the Memphis Grizzlies with a 1-point lead in the first quarter. They're 20 to 19. Final scores: the Hornets beat the Spurs 91 to 88. The Cavaliers over the Nuggets 124 to 91. The Pacers beat the Sixers 91 to 75. The Celtics over the Magic 107 to 96. The Pistons edge the Bucks 92 to 91. The Wizards 117 over the Hawks at home 102. And the Bulls hold court against the Sacramento Kings 109 to 102. Pau Gasol 14 boards to go with 14 points. Boogie Cousins 19 points and 18 rebounds. That Pistons game, Andre Drummond. I just talked about Andre Drummond, right? Everybody talking about how good he is, and he gets the tip in with 2 seconds left. But the Pistons over the Bucks 92 to 91. Making me eat my words in real time here. The number, folks, 585-633-7487 if you want to call in. 585-633-7487. If you're listening to this on demand, leave a voicemail. We'll get it in the next show. Looking at that Bucks game, that Bucks-Pistons game. Milwaukee going cold in the fourth quarter. Only 17 points. While Detroit put up 27. For the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, 21 points and 12 rebounds. Greg Monroe, 18 points and 10 boards. Chris Middleton, that's right, Chris freaking Middleton, 27 points. Have a day, sir. Have a day. John Henson, only 3 points, but on a high note, Matt Barnes wasn't chasing him into the tunnel this game. For the Pistons, I always forget which Morris. Marcus Morris on the Pistons these days. Not to be confused with his brother Markieff. Marcus Morris with 21 points, 4 for 4 from beyond the arc. Andre Drummond, 14 points and 16 boards, 6 offensive rebounds. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope chipping in 15 of his own. You know, you look at the Spurs losing that game today. It can't be termed anything other than a letdown game after beating the Warriors. And then the Warriors, very uninspiringly, struggling with the 22-win Minnesota Timberwolves. The playoff picture, if it starts today, you'd have the Warriors at the 1, then the Spurs, Thunder, Clippers, Grizzlies, Blazers, Rockets, Mavericks. The Jazz sitting 1 game out of the final playoff spot. Nuggets holding on to hope with 6.5 back, but let's just be honest, kids. It's not going to happen. In the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, if you pay attention to the news, you wouldn't know the Cleveland Cavaliers were the number 1 seed. Fire their coach, which was just ridiculous. LeBron going to Miami on off days to practice with Dwayne Wade just because he wanted to. The Raptors number 2, the Heat and Hawks tied right now for 9. And I'm sorry, the Celtics as well for 3, 4, 5, all sitting 9.5 games back. The Hornets at 10 games back. Pacers at 13 back. The Bulls 13.5 tied with the Pistons for that final spot. The Wizards just a game and a half behind them. Clinging to hope in Washington. All right, NBA headlines. And it is a final now. The Warriors beat the Timberwolves 109-104. So Dwight Howard. The Houston Rockets on Monday, this is according to Mark Stein at ESPN.com. The Houston Rockets on Monday received an official warning from the league office regarding Dwight Howard's admitted use of stickum in a recent game against the Atlanta Hawks. Sources said Monday that will be the extent of the punishment for Howard and the Rockets. So, here's the thing. Howard doesn't understand why everybody's upset. I say he shot 2 of 7 using the stickum. I don't know. And he says he's been using it for the last 5 years. So how on earth does a player of, Dwight Howard's stature, exposure, manage to do this for 5 years and no one notices? And he can't understand why it's wrong. And so now everyone's trying to compare this to Deflategate. It's totally different than Deflategate because at least, he was doing it right at the scorer's table. When the Patriots, if the Patriots were deflating balls, they were doing it in a bathroom behind closed doors, trying to hide it like common, decent Americans. No, Dwight Howard's there spraying stickum on his hand at the freaking scorer's table. And if you've never been to an NBA game, right in the middle of the freaking court. And the guy's 7 feet tall, shoulders as big as the building. You can't hide. He's not inconspicuous. He's spraying this on his hands for 5 years and nobody notices. I don't know. And then he doesn't understand why it's bad. And then the NBA, we're not going to fine you. That's a warning. Don't do it again. But hey, at least they acted within 24 hours and didn't need some kind of ridiculous investigation to figure out what happened. Well, how did he get the stickum? Or what kind of stickum was it? How much was sprayed? What are the environmental conditions around stickum? Like the NFL did with the Deflategate fiasco. So, yeah, there's that. My Cavaliers clinching the Central Division crown tonight, by the way. 33-11 and 11 from LeBron James, the King. Somebody put on Twitter that it'll never happen, but NBA Twitter will be interesting if LeBron goes back to Miami. Just stop with this crap right now. The truth is, anything could happen. He's just signing like 1-year deals, right? And he's LeBron freaking James. If he wants to go, he's going to go. This Cavaliers team has issues, though. Don't even kid yourself, kids. They're winning 50 games. The Eastern Conference is better. It didn't all of a sudden get good, though. If you know what I mean. Cleveland's 4th in offensive efficiency. 9th in defensive efficiency. Not going to get it done in the playoffs, son. Not going to get it done in the playoffs. Who's number 1 in defensive efficiency? If you follow the NBA, you don't even have to, you're giving me the screw face for even asking this question. Of course, it's the San Antonio Spurs. But they're pretty good on offense too. That if and when Golden State faces off of San Antonio over 7 games, that is must-see TV. That is the kind of series that the NBA has been wanting since the Lakers and the Celtics in the last decade. And that, didn't really live up to the hype, kind of. I mean, I'm a Laker fan, so I was all about it, but a series like the Spurs and the Warriors, that's the kind of stuff that, Adam Silver is just going to lose his mind over. That is seriously, and I'm not exaggerating. Clear your schedule. I'm watching the NBA playoffs tonight. Sorry, hon, not going to the bar unless they're showing the game. That's what that game is. 585-633-7487. 585-633-7487. All right. NBA highlight or headlines. Apparently there was an incident with Nick Young and Jordan Clarkson in a Jeep making sexually lewd comments toward a woman who claims to have a video but isn't showing anyone the video. Just put pictures on Instagram where it was pretty clear it was Jordan Clarkson and Nick Young. If you're the Lakers, what is Nick Young doing for you right now? I mean, I know what Jordan Clarkson's doing for you. But what is Nick Young? What purpose does Nick Young serve on this team? I mean, Kobe's got an excuse. He's retiring. But what is Nick Young and his $5.2 million contract doing for you right now? You're looking at his stats for this year, and where's I'm trying to find his efficiency rating here. Of course, I can't find it when I want it. I can find it any other time, but he's averaging 7.3 points a game right now, 19 minutes, shooting 33%, 34% from the floor. What is he doing? If you find out that he's anywhere involved, look, I'm gonna give you some free advice here, okay? Just cut him. He doesn't have the cayunes, as we used to call it, to be what you want him to be for the franchise. And he's 30 years old now. I mean, come on. I forgot that he was drafted in 2007. He's 30 freaking years old. Pulling this crap? And if Clarkson's involved, discipline him, but you got to hold on to Clarkson. I firmly believe the Lakers are in good hands as long as Clarkson and D'Angelo Russell grow together. Got to find somebody to play defense, though, if you're the Lakers. But if you're Mitch Kupchak and you find out that Nick Young is indeed guilty of this act of stupidity, you have to ask yourself, why am I in this right now? Why is you going to tell me Nick Young's a clubhouse leader? Bullshit. I'll make sure I check the explicit box now. You're going to tell me that Nick Young is a clubhouse leader that's teaching the young guys? Baloney. He's not on the court much. Can't shoot when he is. And then he's going to go out and make a public spectacle of himself in the age of social media? You're not getting any return on your investment. Just saying. I'm just saying. And that's the end of that. And on a sadder note, Turner Sports broadcaster Craig Sager says that his cancer is back. You see these personalities You grow up watching sports, and a guy like Craig Sager who's always, not play by play, but he's always involved. These personalities that you grow up listening to and watching. You don't know anything about them, right? You don't know them as a person. But when something like this happens, and you watch people that they are around every day and how they react, and you can't fake that kind of compassion, and everybody feels that way about Sager. So it's really, it's a sad story otherwise, but it's really, really sad because he seems like he's a decent citizen. So thoughts and prayers to you, Mr. Sager, and get better. All right. Major League Baseball, spring training. Moving on. We got 15 minutes left in the program. I haven't even talked a lick of football yet. Woo-wee. So did you see that ESPN tweet about Cuba? I wish I had it in front of me. I don't. But basically, I'm gonna paraphrase. He's not perfect, Fidel Castro, but he likes his sports. Are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me? How can you look? I'm doubly involved in this because I'm a baseball fan, and I went to school for history. So you can't ignore what the guy did all those years and still doing. I just was watching the Sports Center, and Pedro Gomez had a report, and they said that Cuban players in the major leagues, when they air these major league games in Cuba, they edit out their at-bats of anything they do good. In this day and age, this is where we are. And as a country, we're going to start having relations with this country again. I think it's a very sticky wicket. I think baseball should stay out of it as much as possible. But you're kind of in it when you're allowing, these players that leave their homeland on a floating door. Well, what does that say? It's like everybody says that, I don't want to turn this into a political argument here, but people are floating to this country on driftwood because it's so bad. That's all I'm going to say about that. I got to talk about this Adam LaRoche, just ridiculousness. I'm sorry. 585-633-7487. 585-633-7487. So, if you don't know, you're not following baseball, living under a rock, Adam LaRoche retired because he was told that his 14-year-old son wasn't allowed in the clubhouse anyway. So LaRoche said, "I'm taking my ball and I'm going home." Look, first of all, as a parent, you got to bring your 14-year-old son up in a major league clubhouse. I don't really think that's the wisest thing either. But at the same time, your employer tells you an expectation, and your response is to get all bent out of shape and just retire. If that's not like the douchiest thing to do to your teammates, I don't know what is. And it's not like he's a Hall of Famer either. I mean, sure, he killed the Mets all those years, but I can't bring my son, I'm going to retire. Well, good for you, family man. But at the same time, while you were, playing this game, the White Sox made decisions based on you being on the roster, you being in camp, for lack of a better term. And now they have a hole. In my own opinion, it's not a big hole, but it's a hole in the roster because he didn't want to be told that his son couldn't be in the clubhouse with him. And it's not like the kid's 6 or 7 years old. He's 14. And then to double down on the idiocy, teammate Adam Eaton goes out and says that they lost a leader. Not in Adam LaRoche, but Drake LaRoche, the 14-year-old. Are you effing kidding me? And now Jerry Reinsdorf, the White Sox chairman, is declaring the saga over. Well, thank you, Jerry. What are we in, like day 6 of this now? It was ridiculous from day 1. And now it's getting even worse. White Sox pitcher Chris Sale, according to ESPN, says that executive Kenny Williams lied to the team, telling 3 different stories on why the decision was made to limit 14-year-old Drake LaRoche's access to the team. It's idiocy breeding idiocy breeding idiocy. Unbelievable. Now, let's not forget, White Sox fans, this isn't your biggest issue. You still have Robin Ventura as your manager. Sorry, I said it. Last year, the White Sox were 76 and 86. Outscored by 79 runs. Sub 500 at home. You know why that's doubly bad for the White Sox? Because the Cubs are good all of a sudden. The White Sox lost 86. The Cubs won 97. And if the Central wasn't so ridiculously good that 97 wins was only good enough for 3rd place, 97 wins would have won either of the other divisions in the National League. But no, here we are talking about a 14-year-old kid in the clubhouse. I mean, come on. And it's getting towards the end of March. We're past the middle of March. Opening day is about 10 days away, 14 days away, 10 to 14 days away, depending on when your team starts. It's time to put all this BS in the rear view and move on. But it just keeps getting worse and worse. And now Reinsdorf says it's over? Screw you. Should never been allowed to get like this. Somebody should be fired. I don't know whether it's Ventura or Williams. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. Last thing I want to be talking about is some player's kid in the clubhouse as we get close to opening day. You look at the White Sox depth chart. Avisal Garcia in right field, Adam Eaton in center, Miguel Cabrera in left, Jose Abreu at first. They still have Adam LaRoche penciled in as the backup first baseman. This is not a team that can afford distractions. I'm sorry, I said Miguel. I meant Melky Cabrera. Oh, man. I hate when I do that. Adam LaRoche was going to be the DH on this team. Guess what? Got to find somebody else. Can't bring his kid with him. He's got to go home. Sitter canceled. It's not like he doesn't have a boatload of cash to hire a live-in nanny. I don't know. It's just there's so many BS takes. The only take that I want to make on this is that it never should have gotten to this point because the kid never should have been allowed in the clubhouse as much as he was. And 2, when the organization nipped it in the bud eventually, LaRoche should have taken it in stride and not just cried and decided he's taking his ball and going home. And that's why part of the reason why the White Sox are the White Sox. Wouldn't you welcome back Ozzie Guillen's craziness? I mean, come on. All right, we are rapidly approaching the 5-minute mark here. Let's talk some NFL, right? Right? Some NFL before we go. This story. New England Patriots, according to Mike Rice at ESPN.com, New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft said Monday that he wrote a letter to the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell over a month ago, requesting that the league reinstate the draft pick stripped as part of Deflategate. Let it go. It's over. The only thing worse than Deflategate is the Deflategate that never ends. Dear God. Why are you going to dig this up again and make everybody talk about it again? It's not like you're a languishing franchise, Bob. It's just ridiculous to me. It just is. I don't believe that Deflategate, powered the New England Patriots to victory that day. I do believe that there should be better controls on the pressure of the ball and should be tested or whatever. Officials should be able to tell when a ball is obviously not up to spec. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. The pressure or the lack of pressure in those footballs didn't allow the Patriots to beat the Colts that day. Hey, Jets fans, Woody Johnson wants Ryan Fitzpatrick back as your Jets quarterback, and you should absolutely agree with him. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been as much Fitztragic as he has been Fitzmagic in his career. But he does well with Chan Gailey. He did good in Buffalo with Chan Gailey. He was decent last year. 31 touchdown passes. Franchise record. Ryan Fitzpatrick is your all-time single-season touchdown pass leader. He's not a jerk. He's smart. Wicked smart. You got a good defense. You just signed a hell of a running back who hopefully will stay healthy for you. The sad thing is that Ryan Fitzpatrick needs the Jets as much as the Jets need Ryan Fitzpatrick. You're not going to go to the Broncos, Ryan, or Cleveland, and have even an infinitesimal fraction of the success that you could have in New York. You got talent around you everywhere. Sure, the line could be a little better, but you're with a coordinator that knows how to cater to your strengths. The ink should already be dried, and your contract should already be in your personnel file. That's how much of a no-brainer this decision should be for Ryan Fitzpatrick. They're probably going to try to find, a way to start planning for his replacement, because let's just be honest, Fitzpatrick doesn't evoke the most confidence for the future. But I don't know. Go home, Ryan. That's my advice to you. Drew Rosenhaus is representing Johnny Manziel. What could go wrong? Right? Dear Lord. Oh, and good news, the Cleveland Browns are not actively pursuing the Colin Kaepernick trade. You know why? Because they don't want any part of that. It's the smartest thing the Browns have done in years. Years. And with that, we bring the premiere episode of It's Keith Grieve Show to a close. We'll be here every Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at LateNightSportsRadio.com. Find us on demand on iTunes at LateNightSportsRadio.com, or download the Spreaker app, available for all platforms. Once again, thank you for joining us. This is Keith Grieve signing off. You have yourselves a fantastic week. And go Orange!
post-game show is brought to you by... Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.